Hello and welcome to the Mad Sounds podcast. I'm your host Aidan and I am back on Even Slaves We Chillin'. So for anyone listening to this purely on audio, this is also on YouTube as per the last episode. No, the episode before last I had an interview with Mindset. Let's go check that out. The lighting's a little bit funny because I'm sat, I don't know. The lighting's funny. But that's besides the point. I'm doing another solo episode today. I quite enjoyed my last one. It was quite therapeutic. Just sit, talk about music, talk about things going on. I've actually got a lot more as far as things in music to talk about. I was planning a YouTube video where I was going to talk about stuff that I'll talk about later. But I've decided to, at least for now, put making YouTube videos on hold while I can do my podcast because I've got a lot of music stuff going on, which I'll talk about. First things first, as I mentioned a few weeks ago, my upcoming gig at Malone's in Glasgow, Aidan and the Outkkasts, me with a band, we are playing a set of, we've got some songs you might know. We've got my songs, we've got some stuff we've wrote ourselves, a very wide array of things, rapping, screaming, singing, all sorts of stuff. But I feel like we've got a pretty consistent sound, so that's really exciting. So you should go buy tickets. There'll be links below, £7 online. It is a Night Owl Music Promotions gig, so us will also mention that Nice and Seas on the 15th, a band called High Flats are playing a headline gig, and on the 20th, on whatever the last Friday of the month is, I think Panhead Sharps are headlining at Legends, so there's a lot of gigs to go to. I'm obviously inclined to say come to mine, but I'm not headlining. Boggle are headlining, so that'll be cool. Again, links will be below, but I've got other stuff in the works. So on the 17th of May, my band Vaguely Nostalgic are releasing 2 songs, Somnophobia, which means the fear of sleep, and All of Us Are Dead, which is the first song we ever made. Both of them are going to be out on all streaming platforms on the 17th. We've started to kind of roll out, I think you'd call it visual art, I guess, just kind of nostalgic-y videos and shit with music, little hints and stuff. That's something that I've been kind of locked in with recently, so go check all of that out kind of as well. And have I got anything else? Yeah, I think for now that's kind of all my music stuff. I've got a lot of stuff in the works, but that's kind of what I just want to mention all that. I'll be sharing it and stuff. You'll see it on the Instagram. Hopefully I'll have some more interviews coming out on the podcast soon as well, but in the meantime, I'm keen to get back to talking about albums, because what I've done recently while I've been job searching and having shit luck, to quote Modest Mouse, I've been just listening to a lot of music, making a lot of music, doing whatever I kind of can do in the gaps of applying and stuff to just kind of re-find a love for music outside of just making it, because I feel like I'm the type of person that I like to listen to music that isn't similar to what I'm creating, because then I don't just copy. And it's not that any of my stuff I've particularly copied, but like I feel like I write better hip hop when I'm listening to rock, and I write better. I feel like that's kind of how I operate. And what I've done recently is kind of, since the last episode, this has been when I spoke about Taylor Swift vaguely, I've done everything in my power to remove bias from how I listen to music. And that's what we're going to talk about, because I've been listening to a shit ton of music recently. And I've actually got a playlist on Spotify that I think is public if anyone's interested. Just wait, you can find all stuff spoke about. Basically, it's called Songs from Albums I've Listened to That I Want to Remember, because it's literally songs from albums I've listened to that I want to remember, plus any singles that have kind of stood out to me. I haven't really been listening to singles, but there is at least a handful of songs that have come out recently. Several of which I guess I might as well talk about right now, because the first song that I've added to the playlist was Euphoria by Kendrick Lamar. So this is what I want to talk about, right? There's been beef, and this is popular, so we'll talk about it. Kendrick Lamar, basically, I think I might have already... No, that was the video I was making. Okay, sorry. I'm not being antisocial, because you get me. I'm not being silly. I'm finding my playlist to have it open. So we'll talk about the beef first, because there's been a lot of songs come out. So first things first, last month, I believe, Kendrick Lamar featured on a song off Future's album, We Don't Trust You, which is pretty good. I'm a big Future fan, so I think Future kind of thrives in the realm of sounding kind of similar on most of his stuff, and that's something that I personally like, because I like the sound, and I feel like the more research I put into Future, the more I like him and appreciate him as like an artist beyond just like trap bangers. But my point being, Kendrick Lamar was on that song and he said the lyrics, fuck sneak this in third person shooter. I hope they catch you with 3 switches, and he essentially called out J. Cole and Drake. And this has kind of been everywhere. This has like absorbed everything. It's been really exciting for me as a person that doesn't really like J. Cole, but he kind of got himself removed early on. But I like Drake, and obviously because I'm a music cretin and I like music, I'm obsessed with Kendrick Lamar, because who isn't? But it was really cool because the verse was so hype and it was really good, and that actually spurred a response from J. Cole. He then apologised 2 days afterwards, ridiculous. And then this is where it's kind of been a roller coaster. The first thing that I would like to point out is one of my favourite bits that no one really, I feel like wasn't highlighted very much, was that Rick Ross just fully made a song where all he really said was Drake's white, and that was it. And it's really funny to me that Rick Ross just kind of spawned in and was like, yeah, calm. So there was that. Then obviously nothing really came of that, but this has led to an absolute flurry of songs that have come out. So the timeline from this point, from that Rick Ross song, Drake leaked a song called Dropping Me 50, and it had like a thing of Kendrick, of like size 7 shoes calling Kendrick small, and this was still more playful, and that diss track was really good. Actually, I really enjoyed it, and he almost kind of threw shots at everyone, and that was really entertaining. And then from there, he released a song called Tailor Made Freestyle, where I think the joke with it being tailor made, it was spelled like Taylor. He kind of mentioned Taylor Swift being a gangster and stuff. But in that, he used an AI thing of Tupac and Snoop Dogg. And I actually scripted this for a video that I was working on, where I thought at the time no one had really said, that's like, as much as it's kind of funny, I'll be honest, it's disrespectful. I was like, why are people not bringing that up? But I suppose it's Drake. And yeah, since then, Tupac's estate, I suppose, I think it was a relative of his, has actually came out and basically been like, nah, like, that's not happening, mate. But this is where it gets exciting, because the first song that 4 songs that I've got in my thing, Family Matters by Drake, Euphoria by Kendrick, Meet the Grahams, and I can't actually remember what the last one's called, because I've not really listened. I've only listened to it once or twice. Not Like Us. There was an absolute flurry. Kendrick Lamar fully dropped like 3 songs. In fact, 616 in LA was another one he did. He just went in. And I'm not going to talk about it too much because I'm not going to. But I think all the songs kind of, from Dropping Gimme 50 to now, I've really liked, to for various reasons. I think Euphoria was just hard. So this was Kendrick Lamar. The Terence Crawford bar I love, because I love Terence Crawford. Is such a good boxer. And I feel like, I don't know, I'm surprised I don't hear more references to him. And one thing I like about Kendrick is I feel like a lot of the things he references have been weirdly relevant to me. Like the Hillbillies, I found the protein thing funny because there's me. That's what I'm like, and it's funny because it's stupid. And obviously the football references, I just feel like he's very kind of, I feel like I'm his demographic in that sense when he's being lighthearted. But Kendrick Lamar fully just started going in. I'm not going to repeat some of the things that he said. Go listen to it yourself. There's other videos of people that are dedicated to talking about it. But this has just been very entertaining. There's been some bangers. There's been some, and it's getting serious now as well. To a point where it's kind of getting beyond just saying things about each other. I mean, the one of the bits that Kendrick did that really sticks in my head, and it's not even the allegations. And for both of them, the things that they've said or blamed each other of aren't even the thing that are like really poignant in my head. Like the Kendrick saying, "Oh, you've got a daughter," but then it's like, does he? Not even that. The thing that really stands out about Kendrick Lamar's diss tracks to me are the bit where he fully just kind of goes on about how much he wants him to die, and I think Drake handles it very well. The newest one he released was actually the morning that I'm recording this, the day it's coming out. I thought that was quite pure. He brought things up that hadn't actually been mentioned on one occasion, and just kind of, it seems like insinuating himself more. But we'll get onto that, and maybe we'll get a full podcast episode. I might get Luke on, and we can just sit and talk through the whole thing, because that might be fun. But other single that I've been really enjoying is by YG. I really like YG. I love his 2012 album, the one with the 4 on it, the white one. I really like that. It's got Get Money and Fuck on it. That's a really cool record. But his new single is an absolute, like, stomper. He's absolutely banging. Knocker. So I recommend that. But we'll get into the albums I've listened to. So, as I mentioned, I've kind of broadened my horizons, and there's one album that specifically did that for me. But this all kind of, the first album that I've really listened to at this point was, so I'm really into the Shins. I've done Wincing the Night Away before on the podcast. I love Inverted World, I think it's called, and Down the Chute, and all those 3 albums are just so good to me. But I've never listened to the newer stuff, so I took it upon myself to listen to Port of Morrow. It's 12 tracks, 40 odd minutes, and as a whole, it's not great. It's very much Wincing the Night Away too. You can go and listen to my thoughts on that on the episode that I did with Walker about Wincing the Night Away. But it's kind of, Wincing the Night Away was a bit of a departure from their first 2 albums being kind of American indie rock in the vein of like a Modest Mouse or something, just a bit later, if that kind of makes sense. You'd get it if you... The short albums, I reckon all of the first 3 albums they've got are absolutely perfect. But Wincing the Night Away takes a little bit more from folk and kind of acoustic. And this kind of continues on from that with a bit grander production. And Simple Song is a massive track, streams-wise, but I loved it. I knew it already, but that is such a brilliant song to me. And so is It's Only Life was actually my favourite of the projects. And I'm going to recommend a song that you listen to from Port of Morrow. It would be It's Only Life, because it's fantastic, it hits hard. And one of the things that stuck out with this album was it felt like songwriting wise, structurally it's pretty standard, but lyrics and stuff, I really felt like it was some of his best and some of his worst. James Mercer, that is, the frontman of the Shins. Port of Morrow was also a really tight track. I thought that was a really weird, it was a nice little change up as well. The last 2 songs, I believe, are different, and I quite enjoyed that. But as a whole, it doesn't stand up to the rest of the albums for me. But I'm glad I listened to it, because I want to absorb as much as I can, which leaves me on to the big thing. And if you're watching this and you've known me, or, you know, any of that, you'll hear this and you'll think, what the fuck is going on with you, mate? I basically thought I'd like to take a departure and listen to something that I would never usually listen to before. So I listened to Viva La Vida by Coldplay. My reasoning for picking this album, first and foremost, I've always maintained that I hate Coldplay. Even though Homecoming by Kanye West featuring Chris Martin is a song I enjoy, and one of the main things I don't like or didn't like about Coldplay was Chris Martin's voice. And I still think his voice has some annoying kind of quirks sometimes, and there's certain words he sings, I'm like, posh prick. But I listened to Viva La Vida because I watched a video where someone kind of went through every Coldplay album. And it stood out to me, first and foremost, the album cover I really like, and I have a thing for album covers, you know me. I listened to it. I've listened to it maybe 3 or 4 times now, because I really enjoyed it. I was very surprised, but this is... So, Viva La Vida by Coldplay, I'll give numbers. So, Port of Morrow by the Shins is a 6. It's got some great songs, it's got some very bad songs, it's very middling to me. Viva La Vida, 8. I'd give it 8 out of 10. I think for a pop rock album, it's really tight. The only thing is, it makes me worried to go back to older Coldplay albums. The lyrics have points where they're a bit poo, and I worry that a lot of the things I like about this album might not exist in the earlier stuff. So the first few albums which I'm going to listen to, and I really do want to dig in deeper, but there's another thing I've been really into that has stopped me doing that, which I will get to. But as much as... Well, so one of the things I love about Viva La Vida is it's a lot more... Maybe progressive isn't the right word, but the songs are longer with more ideas and more lyrics and more stuff than I expected. I expected a much more typical pop thing. I think having known the song Viva La Vida, I kind of expected pop, stereotypical run-of-the-mill pop, and that isn't actually what you're getting here, and that really surprised me. I kind of forgot it's pop rock. It isn't just a pop song. They are a band. There's key changes and there's some cool tempos, time century stuff. There's some great songwriting. The songs that I particularly loved, and most of them, I'll be honest, Cemeteries of London is a great song. The opening track I didn't include because it's instrumental. But Lost, I really liked. 42 might be my favourite, even though the lyric of it's like people. I'm going to read it so I don't misquote it. But I really loved 42. But those who are dead are not dead. They're just living in my head is somehow really catchy, also really bad, but also kind of good. I love the song Yes. That's one of the longer songs that I didn't realise was longer, and I thoroughly enjoyed the entire thing. The song Viva La Vida itself, I didn't like it at first, but there's something so contagious, infectious about that falsetto in the chorus, and it's only really that part. I find the song really corny, like all of it, but it's that one bit that I can't quite remember the lyric, and I'm looking at the lyrics and it's not really sticking out to me, but it's so contagious that. And then Death and All His Friends, I believe, is the last track. I love that. I really enjoyed Viva La Vida, and I'll dig into more Coldplay, and hopefully I'll find it interesting, because I haven't just listened to albums I liked. I know that I wasn't as positive about the first one I spoke about, but just you wait. So another song, another album, I've been very into Crystal Castles. Obviously, the first one is my favourite. I've been listening to Crystal Castles too. The album version of Not In Love, fuck the guy out of them, but yeah, the album version of Not In Love is really cool without Robert Smith. And it's a great album, and kind of, as I've been listening to more Crystal Castles, I've also listened to Alice Glass. That's a subject for another video, but her solo stuff is really fucking good, and you should go listen to that if you have any liking of Crystal Castles, because, you know, we speak about that more in the episode. Right, now we get to my obsession. I have been obsessed with a band I don't really like. The National. There's something about The National that I've always kind of liked. There's this dreariness, this worn atmosphere. It's cold, kind of. Yeah. So I thought I'd go and listen to an album, and I listened to The Boxer. I've listened to 3 now, because I knew their 2017 record. So I listened to The Boxer, their first album. It's not the first album. It's like the third one, right? But Carl, I listened to the third one, or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Right, sorry. I listened to the Boxer by The National, and it's one that people like a lot, and it's okay. I really liked. I'm gonna name out. Right, this is funny because it feels like I liked 90% of this album, but I didn't like the album that much. I liked Brainy, Squalor Victoria, Apartment Story, Start a War, Guest Room, Ada, and Gospel. I didn't like some of the bigger songs because I thought they were boring, and this is why it's interesting to me. So I listened to The Boxer, which I actually very quickly followed up with the next one, Hi Violet, and then Trouble Will Find Me. I've always loved the idea of The National, and I love something about it, because I'm going through the albums and I'm like, there's something. It's just, it doesn't quite click. It almost does. It's like I should find it more emotional than I do, and I don't know if it's something to do with the sound, how it all kind of sounds very one note, some of the lyrics being really bad. But then to add to that, when I listened to Hi Violet, which I'm just going to go out and say, but The Boxer, I'd give it a 7, right? It's not, well, maybe not, yeah, because I suppose I liked more of it than I disliked. Hi Violet, I did not like this album. I know this is like, oh my god, you didn't like Hi Violet. This, for anyone that doesn't know, this is like their breakout. This is like a big thing. I liked 3 songs. I liked Blood Buzz Ohio, even though the B lyrics are stupid. I liked Conversation 16, and I liked England, and the rest of it just went over my head. The first 4 songs I've heard such good things about. Terrible Love, Sorrow, Anyone's Ghost, Little Faith. Not one of them tickled me in any way. They just kind of passed me. I was quite disappointed. I did, however, like Trouble Will Find Me more. I liked the first 2 tracks. I Should Live in Salt would be my personal highlight of this. But Pink Rabbits, in fact, is absolutely brilliant. Like, that was actually that. Maybe I should go back, and maybe Pink Rabbits, me clicking with that song so much, might put the rest of their music on like a different thing for me, and I will do that. But The National have just been so interesting, and I'm going to cover one of their albums on this podcast at some point, because there is so much to go into with it, and it's so interesting to me. Another album I listened to, 2 throwbacks, albums that I know very, very well. Firstly, I listened to Trick by Jamie T. I'm going to have a sip of my tea that I'm not going to edit out. Thank you. Yeah, I loved Trick, Dragon Bones, Drone Strike, Walking Through Tesco Land. And I used to love Power Over Men, but upon re-listening to it, it's not very good, is it? So, for those that don't know, Jamie T is an English singer, songwriter, kind of indie rapper, kind of. I hate to use myself as a comparison. Well, I'm not really comparison, but it's kind of like if Alex Turner rapped, is probably how I would describe him. But there are certain songs that are, in the sense of what I do, is stupid. It's kind of like, it's weird. But he can rap, this is the thing. So I listened to the album. Drone Strike is hard. It's a much more a proper hip-hop song. And that goes hard. Then Tesco Land goes hard. A song called Police Tapes that I really liked. And then Dragon Bones, the big song off it, is still so catchy. The chorus is like upside down. It's really good. But the whole album, just there's some outright bad songs. Power Over Men is outright bad. I don't know how else to say it. I just did not like that song. I used to love it, but it just did not click. And I think as an album, it has a really nice bass. He's a bass player, which is another weird thing, but I like the bass tone. The lyrics aren't up to his other projects, at least from what I remember. And it was just, this was the one I always favoured, and I like some of the kind of biblical, historical themes that he puts into these kind of average songs, but yeah, it really just didn't do that much for me. And I'd probably give it a 5. I mean, the songs that I liked, I still really like. It's just, as a whole, the album doesn't hold up for me. After that, I thought I'd listen to another throwback album, an album that I've actually done on the podcast. I listened to AM by Arctic Monkeys. Now, I'm going to go out and say I think the Arctic Monkeys need a redone episode now that I'm more confident and I feel like my music opinions have developed. AM is a really good album. Yeah, it is. I said it. Yeah. There's bangers. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Do I Want to Know is not a song I've listened to for years now. It still goes hard. It works really well. Are You Mine? The drumming is so energetic and powerful. Some of the lyrics are absolute piss, but I guess in a sense I like the wordplay. And for the rest of the album, those two are kind of the rock forward songs. One comparison that I've made is the R&B comparison. Now, I'm going to go out and say I think that the drumming on earlier Arctic Monkeys projects is more hip-hop oriented than the rhythms and stuff on this. The R&B thing, however, I do see. I still think there's something in the grooves and the bass of a lot of the songs that takes from contemporary R&B when the album came out. One for the Road, Arabella, Snap Out of It, Why Do You Wanna Call When You're High are all great, but they're also very kind of, sorry, I've got an itch, very, R&B groove driven songs. Arabella, I don't mind the pigs, I think it's pigs, the Black Sabbath, I don't mind that, I never really did, but that's a thing people don't like. The solo on that song is really good for how short it is as well. Number one party anthem still is a nostalgic, enjoyable, relaxed song. Knee Socks, great riff, Snap Out of It, catchy as hell. The backing vocals on the entire project, Knee Socks and Why Do You Wanna Call When You're High specifically. Even I Wanna Be Yours is a song that, I'll be honest, as a man that quite likes what John Cooper Clarke I know, it's not a poem that I like. I mean, imagine if Arctic Monkeys did Burnley, how much cooler that would be. If you don't know that, Google Burnley performance right now. No, don't, because the football team will come up. Make sure you search his name. But anyway, AM just stands up to me. It's an 8 or a 9. I think nostalgia is definitely speaking, but I can't lie. I don't know why there's a stigma around it. See if it's an enjoyable album. That is one of the albums that I could put on anytime, any place, anywhere, and it would tickle me. I might even go listen to it after I've done this podcast, you know what I mean? It's a great bit of kit. Which leads me on to the next thing. I have never listened to Youngboy, apart from I Feel Like I'm Gucci Mane in 2006. I never listened to him. So I thought I would. And I decided to listen to the album Top. Now, this is a weird one. It's really quite good. I think when he sings, or when he tries to be more emotional, nah, don't do it for me. When he goes hard, There we go. When he raps, I like that. He goes very hard. He sounds scary. It's threatening. It's hype. I like that. The one thing I will say is beat selection wise, it can be pretty shit. It gets really boring. It's too long, obviously. That should go without saying. A lot of kind of modern rap albums are just too long for what they are. That's, I feel like you deal with that. But I liked a hell of a lot of this album. Crossroads, The Last Backyard, Right Foot Creep, as much as it's dumb and it makes you think of Fortnite, it's pretty good. Dirty Stick is a hard song. My Window feat Lil Wayne, I don't like it, but I love the Lil Wayne verse, so make of that what you will. Dead Trolls, hard. Murder Business, amazing. Sticks with Me, Peace Hardly, and finally Callin' featuring Snoop Dogg. Those songs, if you condense the album, for me, that would be such a good album. I really enjoyed it. If you've not listened to it, I'm not going to go out and say, if you like trap music, if you want something kind of hype to go to the gym to, I recommend it. I mean, I'm going to listen to more Youngboy. I can't believe I'm saying this, it feels ridiculous, especially because the next album that I listened to, if I was going to give that one, by the way, I would give it a 6, but for the basis of, I've named about 10-ish songs there. It's 21 on the album, it's an hour long. It's too much, condense it, and it would be amazing. That's just a fact, that's how this type of stuff is, but you can stick on the album in the background and just kind of enjoy it. The next album, actually, my final album that I want to talk about is something that I can't believe I've never listened to. Sailing the Seas of Cheese by Primus. And I'm just going to go outright and say Fish On, Fisherman's Chronicles Chapter 2, is a 10 out of 10 song and is fucking amazing. Tommy the Cat is one of the best bass lines, or craziest at least bass lines I've ever heard in my entire life, and is amazing. Tommy the Cat, Jerry's a Race Car Driver, American Luck, amazing. Seas of Cheese is such a dumb, stupid album opener. If you haven't listened to Primus, but they kind of fall into a metal funk thing. Bassline driven metal with weird vocals of him just kind of saying things. The songs are nonsensical, but it sounds hard. The bass lines are amazing. The fact that he sings and does them, I loved it. That's a 9 out of 10 for me. I'm hopefully going to do an episode on that album. To be honest with you, I enjoyed it that much. Absolutely crazy. I recommend everything I've listened to. And that summarises the episode. Thank you all for listening. I'll leave a link to my playlist. Message me on Instagram at the Mad Sounds Podcast, and we can discuss any takes I've had that you think are bad, any takes you have that I think are good. Leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube, or you can go and answer on the poll or whatever on Spotify if you're listening to this episode. Please go follow. Buy tickets if you're in Glasgow for my gig. That'll be linked below. The playlist will be linked below. And I hope to see you all next episode. Thank you and goodbye.